County Prosecutor Leland Kirk looked at the file on his desk and saw his future. A beautiful, hand-carved stepping stone to the governor's mansion. The name on the file was Captain Donovan Shaw. The picture showed a black man with a calm, steady gaze. A gaze that Kirk found deeply unsettling. He picked up his phone and dialed his lead investigator. "Tell me you have something I can use," Kirk said, skipping the pleasantries. "Something dirty, unpaid taxes, a messy divorce, anything." The voice on the other end was hesitant. "Sir, the guy is a ghost. His record is cleaner than a priest's. Flawless military service. No criminal history, not even a parking ticket. The weapons were all legally registered to him." Kirk felt a flash of anger. "I don't care," he snapped. "A guy like that, from that part of town, doesn't just get a collection of military-grade hardware. Someone is backing him, some radical group. That's the story. Are we clear?" "But sir, there's no evidence of—" "Then create it," Kirk hissed, and hung up the phone. He looked at Shaw's picture again. "I will break you," he thought. "I'll stand on your back to get where I need to go." An hour later, in a packed courtroom, Captain Donovan Shaw sat in the defendant's box. The orange jumpsuit felt alien against his skin, but his posture was ramrod straight. He was an island of calm in a sea of manufactured chaos. Leland Kirk was putting on the performance of a lifetime. "This man," Kirk bellowed, pointing a dramatic finger at Shaw, "is not a patriot. He is a domestic terrorist hiding in plain sight. We found an arsenal in his home, enough firepower to start a war." People in the gallery gasped. They saw exactly what Kirk wanted them to see: a dangerous man, not a decorated soldier. Shaw's public defender, a young, overwhelmed lawyer named Julian Rhodes, scrambled to his feet. "My client is exercising his constitutional right to remain silent, Your Honor." Kirk laughed, a loud, mocking sound that filled the room. "The right to remain silent? How convenient," he shouted, turning to the jury. "It's easy to stay silent when you can't explain who paid for your private army." Shaw's eyes narrowed slightly. That was the only sign of life. He was assessing the enemy's tactics, watching him overextend, watching him make mistakes. "Keep talking," Shaw thought, his mind a cold, calculating machine. "You have no idea the game you're playing." On the bench, Judge Marion Dubois, a man who'd seen real combat in the Korengal Valley, looked at Shaw. He didn't see a terrorist. He saw a soldier, a professional, and it made the hair on his arms stand up. "Mr. Shaw," the judge said, his voice low and serious, "you are facing 20 years in a federal prison. Do you understand that?" "Yes, Your Honor," Shaw said, his voice perfectly even. "I understand perfectly." Later, in the chaos of the courthouse hallway, an old Marine in a worn-out jacket stopped the public defender. "Gunny Coulter," he said, sticking out a hand. "I was in the gallery. You need to know something." "I'm sorry, I can't discuss the case," Rhodes began. "I'm not asking you to," Coulter cut in, his eyes intense. "I'm telling you, that prosecutor is a fool, and your client is letting him play the fool. I've seen men like your client before. In Helmand Province. They move different. They think different. You're not defending a man, you're holding a leash." Rhodes was speechless. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," Coulter said grimly, "a man that disciplined, that calm under fire, doesn't end up here by accident. He's on a mission, and this entire courtroom is part of it." That night in the Barrington County Jail, Captain Shaw moved with silent purpose. While other men slept or yelled in frustration, he worked. Push-ups until his muscles screamed. Sit-ups in the dark. He wasn't passing time. He was preparing his body for a battle he knew was coming. "It's weird," Officer Beck said, watching the security monitor. "He's not like the others. It's not jail to him." "What is it then?" his partner asked. Beck zoomed the camera in on Shaw's face. The man was meditating, his expression unreadable. "It's a staging area." The next night, Julian Rhodes and Gunny Coulter sat in the bleak, gray visiting room of the county jail. When Captain Shaw entered, he didn't even look at his lawyer. His eyes locked directly onto the old Marine. A silent understanding passed between them. Two predators recognizing each other in a cage. Coulter leaned forward. "Helmand Province," he said, not as a question, but as a statement. "I know the look. Who are you with?" Shaw's posture stiffened. You know we don't discuss that, Gunny. I also know about emergency protocols, Coulter shot back, his voice low and tight. When an operator's cover is blown, there are channels. You're supposed to call it in. The lawyer, Julian Rhodes, looked back and forth between them, completely lost. Can someone please tell me what is going on here? Shaw ignored him. He leaned forward, the movement small but full of immense weight. Let me ask you a question, Gunny, he said, his voice barely a whisper. What happens when you're deep behind enemy lines and you realize the emergency channel has been compromised? The question hit Coulter like a punch to the gut. The old Marine fell silent, his face paling. Suddenly, the entire situation was darker and far more dangerous than he could have ever imagined. The next morning, Leland Kirk was a star. He was on every news channel, his face plastered across every screen. He announced a new joint federal task force to investigate Shaw's supposed extremist network. These people, Kirk said with fake sincerity to a news anchor, are a cancer. They look like your neighbors, but they are poison. And I promise you, I will cut out this poison before it spreads. Roxy Wells's article, now titled Inside the Terror Plot, went viral. The public was terrified, and Leland Kirk was riding the wave of fear all the way to the top. That night, Gunny Coulter made a call to a number he hadn't used in 15 years, a ghost number. This is Coulter, he said when a gravelly voice answered. I need you to run a name for me, Donovan Shaw. The voice on the other end was cold. You know this line is for emergencies only, Gunny. This is an emergency, Coulter insisted. Just run the name, please. Oracle. A few hours later, Coulter's phone rang. A blocked number. It was Oracle. Listen to me very carefully, the voice said, stripped of all warmth. You are standing on the lid of something you cannot handle. You will stop digging. You will forget the name Donovan Shaw. For your own safety and for his, walk away. That is not a suggestion. It's an order. The line went dead. The following night, a frantic Julian Rhodes visited the jail alone. Shaw, you have to tell me something, he pleaded. Coulter thinks you're a high-level asset. He got a call. Someone told him to stand down or he'd end up in a box. He thinks this whole case is a hornet's nest. Shaw's face was unreadable stone. And what do you think, Mr. Rhodes? I think you're letting this happen, Rhodes stammered. On purpose. For the first time, a ghost of a smile touched Shaw's lips. It was cold and sharp as a razor. The only way to trap a wolf, he said calmly, is to wear a sheep's skin, right up until the moment you slam the cage door shut. On the morning of the fourth day, Leland Kirk stood before a massive press conference. This was it, his coronation. I can now officially confirm, he announced, his voice filled with phony gravitas, that our investigation has found Donovan Shaw to be a key figure in a terrorist financing ring. This is now a matter of national security. As Roxy Wells typed furiously, her heart pounding, Kirk smiled for the cameras. We will not allow these radical forces to... His voice was suddenly drowned out by a deafening whump, whump, whump. Every head in the room snapped to the windows. Two sleek, black MH-60 Black Hawk helicopters were descending on the courthouse plaza, kicking up a storm of dirt and debris. They were followed by a motorcade of black government SUVs that moved with terrifying silent precision. Kirk faltered, his bravado instantly vanishing. As I was saying, just then, Julian Rhodes's phone buzzed. Mr. Rhodes, a clipped, no-nonsense voice said, this is Colonel Maddox from the Judge Advocate General's office. Do not let your client be moved. A 4-star general is entering your courthouse right now. The main doors to the auditorium were thrown open with a deafening bang. General Imogen Pierce strode in. The 4 stars on her shoulders glittered like ice. She was flanked by a team of stone-faced officers. A dead, crushing silence fell over the room. Her voice cut through the air like a knife. Where is Captain Shaw? Leland Kirk's face went white as a sheet. Captain, I don't understand. We have a suspected terrorist in our custody. General Pierce pinned him with a look of pure, undiluted contempt. Mr. Kirk, she said, her voice dangerously quiet, you have just made the most catastrophic, career-ending mistake I have ever seen. That suspect is one of the most decorated operators in the United States Armed Forces. A uniformed aide marched forward and handed a classified file to Judge Dubois. The judge opened it. His eyes went wide. "My God," he whispered. General Pierce's voice rang with absolute authority, silencing the room. "The man you have in custody is Captain Donovan Shaw," she announced. "He is the recipient of the Silver Star, the Navy Cross. He is a counterterrorism expert who has completed over 100 covert missions, saving more American lives than anyone in this room will ever know." Leland Kirk sputtered, his face a mess of confusion and panic. But he wouldn't identify himself. He refused to cooperate. "Because he was on a deep cover classified mission, you arrogant fool," General Pierce snapped, her voice dripping with disgust. "Operation Iron Veritas, a mission specifically designed to root out corruption and prejudice in local law enforcement. It was a test, Mr. Kirk, a test to see what would happen when a decorated black officer was found with legally registered military-grade equipment." She locked her icy gaze on the prosecutor. "And congratulations. You showed the Pentagon exactly where the rot is. You are the disease this mission was designed to find." Crack. The sound of Roxy Wells's cell phone hitting the marble floor echoed in the stunned silence. Her career had just ended. Judge Dubois staggered to his feet. "General, on behalf of this court, I offer my most profound apologies." "Your apology is accepted, Your Honor. You were fed bad intelligence," General Pierce replied, before turning her glacial gaze back to Leland Kirk. "But he turned justice into a political circus for his own personal gain." At that moment, the doors opened again. Captain Shaw was escorted in. No jumpsuit, no handcuffs. He wore a crisp, dark suit, and he moved with the quiet authority of a man who could command armies. The defendant was gone. The captain was back. "Captain Shaw," General Pierce said formally, "I regret the treatment you were forced to endure. Your sacrifice has been noted at the highest levels of command." "Thank you, General," Shaw replied, his voice sharp and clear. "Mission accomplished." Leland Kirk watched in pure horror as the cameras he had summoned for his own victory party swiveled to capture every angle of his complete and utter humiliation. But it was about to get worse. Two stone-faced men in dark suits and earpieces approached him. They were federal agents. One of them spoke, his voice low but firm, for only Kirk to hear. "Mr. Kirk, you are under investigation for abuse of power and obstruction of a federal operation. You will be coming with us." Now, Kirk's political ambitions, his career, his entire life, it all died right there on the courthouse floor, broadcast live for the world to see. Later, after the chaos died down, Gunny Coulter approached the captain, tears welling in his eyes. "I knew it," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for your service, sir." Shaw gave him a firm, respectful nod. "Thank you for yours, Gunny." The general then addressed the shell-shocked press. "Let me be perfectly clear," she boomed. "Captain Shaw is an American hero. Anyone in the media who used this illegal arrest for clicks and headlines will answer to JSOC." A reporter, seeing one last chance for a story, called out, "Captain, was this justice or was this revenge?" Captain Shaw looked at the wreckage of Leland Kirk's career being escorted out of the building. Then his eyes found Gunny Coulter in the crowd. "Revenge is about feeling good," he said, his voice ringing with clarity. "Justice is about getting a result." He walked directly to the old Marine and pressed a heavy bronze coin into his hand. It was his personal challenge coin. "A real warrior always knows," Shaw said quietly. Coulter looked at the coin, then at the hero standing before him. He gave a single proud nod. Justice had been served.